Hey folks, Mike here to let you know that this bonus episode in your feed originally aired on Patreon. We figured with the Kickstarter for the collection of Wicked and Divine issue covers being mailed out, this would be the perfect time to drop the first episode of Wic+Div Uncovered with Kara and Tia here on the public feed. If you want to hear more episodes like this, head over to patreon.com/IRCB podcast to get access to future episodes of this series, plus our other shows like A Better Batmobile, Saga of Saga, IRCB Movie Club, Giant Days of Our Lives, and so many more. We're talking hundreds of other Patreon-exclusive episodes of IRCB. Now, I'll shut up. Here's episode 1 of Wic+Div Uncovered with Kara and Tia.
Welcome to the I Read Comic Books Patreon exclusive series, Wicked and Divine Uncovered, or WicDiv for those in the know, with Tia and Kara. We're definitely in the know, and we're going to talk about WicDiv covers for this series. And I'm here with none other than Holiday, my cat, who you'll probably hear a lot of, but also Kara, who actually has thoughts about these covers that she is going to share with us.
I mean,
Kara.
Holiday might have thoughts about the covers too, and that's what she's trying to say to you, and that's why we hear her meowing sometimes.
Sekhmet features very prominently in the first arc, for sure, so, you know, cat things.
Tia, why are we talking about the Wicked and the Divine covers, of all things?
Well, by the time this series airs, I think we'll all have received the Kickstarter book that hopefully we all bought. I know I did, that contains all of the variant covers for the Wicked and the Divine. And if you missed it, that sucks for you. I don't know what to tell you.
Just leave this series right now.
It happened already.
Is only for but like, you know, yes, that is the driving force behind the series of focusing on the covers. But Tia, if somebody didn't get that Kickstarter reward, why should they keep listening to us?
So we talk a lot, I think, about how to fix the comic book industry in general on this show. And I think a big contentious thing that we talk about a lot, and that a lot of people talk about a lot, is this whole variant cover scam that a lot of comic book shops have to deal with, where it's like, you know, there'll be a variant cover released and it's super exclusive and everyone wants it. And like, you have to buy so many copies of the main cover to get one of the variant covers. And like, variant covers are a whole problematic thing in comics. But I think that the Wicked and the Divine actually used variant covers in a really smart way. It was just sort of like an entity unto themselves. They kind of used it more to help connect the audience with like new artists that they maybe wouldn't have discovered otherwise. Like, it was just a cool way to discover new artists, to see your favorite artist take on the characters from the book. And it just kind of like felt special to collect them. And there wasn't that really manufactured rarity that you see with other variant covers from other publishers who shall remain nameless. And so it was like a thing you could collect because you really loved the thing and the art, and not so much like to just have it, I guess. Although I'm sure some people did that too. There were some exclusives to like specific shops or cons, and we'll get into that when we get into it. But
you have quite a few of these variant covers. I know we're talking about this because they just recently did this Kickstarter. But as long as this series was being published, I remember you joking that you had all of them. Do you actually have all of them, Tia?
I'm missing one.
Which one are you missing?
There was an Image Expo variant. There were two different colors, black and white and in color. And I did not attend that Image Expo, and I couldn't get, I just couldn't find the covers anywhere. And then I actually managed to get one from Kieran. He had the black and white one, but he didn't have the color one. So I still don't have that one, but neither does he. So it's fine, I guess.
For our listeners, Tia's very fancy and just name drop Karen Gillan, who is the co-creator of The Wicked and the Divine, because she's fancy.
Well, I wouldn't say name dropped so much. Like, I don't know. Yes, I sort of like, I guess you could say, befriended. Like, it's weird reading back. Like, this is all such a tangent.
Sure.
It's funny to read this back now. And Laura, the main character in the series, is like a normal person, and she just kind of is like, gets involved in the world of the gods and the wicked and the divine, and then like kind of becomes one of them and becomes like really, her story gets really entwined into theirs. And it's so funny because like this series came out when I first got hired at Comixology, and I just relate to that whole rise and fall so much.
Okay. All right. So we're getting into it. So stay tuned for the personal tangents that are coming as we talk about art and the digging into these covers and all their different glories. I, for one, am very excited to be here.
I don't want to look. So what I'm hoping for this series is for us to really like deep dive on the covers, the variant covers mostly, but we'll talk about Jamie and Matt covers too, because they're really great. But also like, I want to use it to talk about like how you can just read an artwork, like how to look at art, how to read a single image, especially because like it's so different from reading a comic book, which is sequential art. And it's just an opportunity for us to talk about the ways that a character might be distilled into a single image, or like what is that story moment and how is it being portrayed in a single image. Or maybe the artist just like likes another character and just decided to go rogue and do their own thing, and like how do they show their love for that character, like how does it come out in their artwork. So if you're looking for a series that's going to be like a deep dive into the backstory of the WicDiv and like looking at each story arc and all of that, this is not that show. And Kieran's writer notes are on Tumblr, I think still. They're in the hardcovers. Like that's all out there. Authorial intent is not really the intent of this show, although that's one very valid way to look at art. But this is more about like a viewer's relationship with a single image, and that's kind of what I'm hoping that we can talk about most.
Where would you like to begin?
Well, I mean, having said that, we've just dove into this as though everybody listening has already read the books and knows exactly what we're talking about and like who the gods are and who Laura is and like what all this is about. So maybe just in case there's like someone out there who lived under a comics rock from 2014 to 2019, do you want to give us like a very brief overview of what we're getting into in terms of who are these people? Why do we care?
Oh, I was going to say, it's like if you somehow were a person in the 2010s who was not raised on a steady diet of Greek mythology and did not like have a deep connection to this indie comic book series that was coming out. So The Wicked and the Divine has a pretty succinct tagline. It's like every 90 years the gods are reborn, they are loved, they are hated, in 2 years they'll be dead. And this time they came back as pop stars. So if you were like aware of pop music in 2014, you would have picked up the first arc of The Wicked and the Divine and been like, oh, this character feels familiar. This character is this god or that god, or says they're this god or that god, and this aesthetic reminds me of David Bowie. This aesthetic reminds me of Kanye West. This aesthetic is like Florence and the Machine. So there were like, it was close enough to what was happening in the pop landscape where you could feel like you already knew the archetypes that you were dealing with and you didn't need to have a deep understanding of various mythologies. But at the heart of the story, you mentioned the character Laura. She's our like outsider figure who comes into this world, and we're discovering the world of these reincarnated gods through her. We first see her in the first issue going to Amaterasu's gig, and so she's like doing her makeup, all like rainbow makeup and like red hair wigs, and all the other girls in the bathroom are doing the same thing, and you just get this really like your introduction to these gods is this ecstatic concert experience that all of the fans are kind of chasing. So it just like goes on from there, and you're seeing Laura get deeper and deeper into this world as you go, and kind of uncovering their secrets and their relationships and connections. And the covers, I think, were just so different from what was on comic stands at the time, because like all the at least for the first few arcs, all the covers, like the main covers, were like a character's face,
a headshot, if you will.
A headshot just like staring out at you in this absolutely gorgeous clean line work and coloring. So I think that even if somebody like wasn't reading this series, if you were in comic shops around this time and they were getting Image Comics, it's very likely you would have seen one of these covers.
And it helps a lot that Jamie McKelvey is so good at faces and facial expressions and fashion. If you were on Tumblr in the 2010s, the WicDiv fashion blog was just perfection. It got you so excited for this series. They started it a little bit before the series came out, and it was just like, I don't know what this is, but I want it. And so the Jamie and Matt cover, like the matte coloring also, like it's so beautiful. And so for the first issue, the main cover, the Jamie Matt cover, it's a headshot of Laura. She's got her makeup done, and there's this like sort of color effect that looks like maybe it's lighting from the concert or something. Later on, when you have more of this like type of cover to put together from the series, you understand a little bit more what that is. But just for the first issue, looking at it, it's like, yes, this is Laura's headshot with this cool lighting and this cool makeup. And I love the play on headshots, because it's like it's sort of like what an agency might take as a snapshot if they're like scouting you as talent. But it could also be like a magazine cover. And so the play on fame and like the stages of fame, I think, are represented really in a really interesting way with the choice to like do the headshot. And then, of course, like, they lose their heads. It's like a nice little play on that. So it seems like a really simple design, but it is doing a lot of work.
My impression looking back at this with the intent to analyze as opposed to consume, whereas like I feel like with most comics, when I'm reading them or initially engaging with them, I'm doing it from a more like passive consumption standpoint. So something that I really appreciate about being on this show is getting to look at something with the intent to analyze and critique. And so I think if I remember back to 2014 when I would have first seen this cover, it really was the colors that grabbed me, and I think the directness of the gaze of the characters. And I think that having the characters looking at you head on really speaks to the like character-driven storytelling of the Wicked and the Divine. Like, I'm always much more drawn to stories that are like all about the characters as opposed to getting really gnarly about the plot and the characters are like an afterthought. So this to me says, yes, the characters are front and center. This is why you're here.
Yeah, I mean, and also I think having the eye contact, it kind of references what Laura describes in the first issue about like the experience of the gods and how special it makes you feel, and how, you know, like connected, like, you know, there's, I think at the Amaterasu gig, she's talking about how, like, you know, she's there in the front row and Amaterasu's looking out into the crowd, but it feels like she's looking just at her. And like, yeah, the eye contact thing, like that was, I think that's a thing for magazines too. Like magazine covers want that eye contact, like it draws you in. So it definitely works on a lot of levels to have it be that simple design of headshot with eye contact looking out at the viewer. And the colors, like there were, I don't remember how many variant covers there were of this design of, and there's a Lucy one too, but they just did like all these different color versions. So there's like black and white, and you know, just the makeup is in color, or like with Lucy, like just her red eyes, and different color lighting effects. And I think for the first issue, it makes sense to just kind of throw it all out there. And I don't know if people felt like they wanted to collect them all, but I know that like if like my comic shop had a special one, I like it felt special to have it. So I think it was just a good way to like introduce the series and get some of the bigger comic shops to kind of feature it. This was also the era of the comic shop Valkyries, and there was like a Valkyrie bump where if the Valkyries were into your book and they're hand selling it to customers, like it would do better numbers. So as a marketing strategy, I think all the different colored variants of the headshot, the Laura and Lucy headshot, was really smart.
Mm-hmm. And those two characters getting featured on their separate covers, because Lucy's kind of like, we see Amaterasu as the headliner of the gig, but it's Lucy or Lucifer and Laura who are really making that initial connection. And Lucy is Laura's first real exposure to speaking directly with a god.
Yes. And so for the first issue, there's only 2 variant covers technically that are like non-matte Jamie covers. And I'm holding the trade right now that has all the variant covers in the back, except it doesn't, because the Mike Ruth cover is not in the trade.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And so to be honest with you, I discovered the Mike Ruth cover completely surreptitiously walking down an aisle in Artist Alley at New York Comic Con in 2014. And I saw it on someone's table that I didn't know, and I went, "Hey, I know those characters." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I did a variant cover for it." So I, it was really, so I bought it and like chatted, and it was really cool. And it turns out that it was the variant, which is a Canadian type of variant cover that we really had to do a lot of research to figure out like what that was.
Really, so much sleuthing. Like, why is there just not an explainer? Like, people are selling variant covers, and I apologize to Canadians. I'm not Canadian. I don't know what inflection you want me to go with. Like, but like you can find, not just from the Wicked and the Divine. There's a bunch of comic book series that have this as their branding on the variant cover. And because Google is shit now, I had to go through multiple Google pages. I think on like page 4 or 5 of my Google search results, I realized that there was a Facebook page that hasn't been updated in years that was devoted to this type of variant cover. And it seems like it was a concentrated effort to spotlight the art of Canadians in comics, which I think is really lovely and really cute that they did that's their branding.
I kind of love that you had to go to page 4 in the Google search results, because that's actually a joke in this book, when Laura is like trying to look up one of the gods drops a name of another god, and she's like trying to look it up, and she's like, "Oh god, I have to go on the second page of the search results." So Love that little bit of I don't know, poetic
I made it
rhyme.
rhyme.
I don't know. Yeah. And so Mike Ruth is a Canadian cover artist, and it's a really cool image. Look it up. It's online. You could see it. It's black and white, and it depicts a joke from the book, which is that Sekhmet, the cat god, the Egyptian cat goddess, in her cat way, chases laser pointers. And that could be like kind of a corny throwaway joke, except it literally is what kicks off like the big action in that like kind of starts the first mystery of the first arc. So it's not a throwaway. It's like it's the kind of kickoff moment. And so the Mike Ruth cover depicts it's black and white except for the red dot that's on Lucy's chest, and then like Sekhmet's about to pounce on her.
Which I got to tell you, I reread that story and then I looked at this variant cover and I literally did not see the red dot until you described it again, even though I wrote in my notes, "Love the red dot," quote from the comic book.
I mean, even in the book, it's easy to miss. I was rereading it, and like you kind of have to you're reading, and then there's a panel, and then at the next panel there's like everything's chaos, and you're like, wait, what happened? And you go back one, and you're like, oh, a red dot.
But yeah, I mean, it's that moment of action before the chaos that's captured in this variant cover. So it's definitely the kind of thing where, like, I don't know how variant covers are made. So I guess it would depend on the creative team and the story involved. But for this one, it's like super clear that anyone doing a variant cover like had access to the story beforehand. And I just don't know how true that is for like a larger publisher.
And it's interesting that you say that because so I think Mike Ruth is really good at line work, but also modeling with shadow and light. And so there's something like almost kind of nostalgic about this image. It almost feels like a behind the scenes photo from the actual photo shoot. You know how like you'll get like the documentary or like the special where you get to kind of see the behind the scenes, and it feels really special, but also kind of nostalgic even though you weren't even there. And so I don't know, this has that quality of like a behind the scenes snapshot that I really like, and I think it kind of speaks to what you were just talking about, where it's like it's a moment from the story, so he must have had some behind the scenes access to before it came out in the first issue.
Yeah, the behind the scenes-ness of it is really reflected in the bright lights that are really prominent in the composition. It's like that scene is happening during like a filming or a video session, but you like almost don't really notice because you're focused too much on the room and the characters that are in it. And this one, it's like Sekhmet, Lucifer, and two very, very bright light rigs above them.
Yeah. And another thing I like about that idea is it's a big contentious point in the book that like, are they faking for the cameras? Like, is this just a bit? And so the idea that like behind the scenes, Sekhmet is also chasing the red dot, it's, you know, it kind of implies that it's not a bit. Anyway, it's a really cool cover. I feel very fortunate that I found it by happenstance. I was cosplaying Baphomet at that New York Comic Con.
Naturally.
Of course. And then the other variant cover for issue 1 is Brian Lee O'Malley of Scott Pilgrim, also Canadian. The Canadians really went for it for issue 1.
Full force Canadians.
I actually really liked this cover a lot. Like, this was the one that I really wanted because it just felt so something that when you were giving the kind of like high level overview, I think maybe you left out is that they're young, they're teenagers.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of like the tragedy of the 2 years. You're going to die in 2 years. And so this cover, I think, just so beautifully distills like teen fandom. It's Laura in her bedroom, and she's like laying on her bed, listening to music, surrounded by posters. And they're just such cute details that are so teenage. But you have a good point about it that I think I didn't notice. So I'm going to kick it over to you.
So this is like you said, she's surrounded by posters of these gods, and looking at this image while I was kind of like getting back into reading this comic book series is like, Laura is such a serious person and a serious character. Like, even when she's being a little goofy or awkward, she's not a frivolous or silly person. And so looking at this cover, I was just like, has Laura ever been this happy? Like, she looks so like happy or like content. Like, she is smiling, and just like her whole expression and demeanor, it just, she's like totally at home and totally feeling herself. And it's just like, was she ever this happy? I don't think so.
In the book, yeah, she's talking about how she's gonna like purposefully, flunk her A levels, and like this is all she wants to do is pursue being a god with the Pantheon. And she talks a little bit about how it's because they're special and they're extraordinary, and in her mind, I guess, like the 2-year time limit is worth the specialness. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't get the sense yet that she's like depressed. I feel like she just maybe thinks that her life is in black and white, and if she were able to become a god, it would be in color or something. You know what I mean? And so she's like only happy when she's surrounded by the magic of the gods, or the however you want to describe it. One thing I love about this whole series is that like it never really clarifies what that is. Like, we talk about it like it's music gigs, but it's not music. I was very devastated to realize that, because I think it would be fun to have like, what do their songs sound like, or like what singers do they sound like? But yeah, like it's described like so vaguely, like it's not music, they're not necessarily singing, I don't know. And so it's super open-ended. So for all who knows what Laura's listening to on this cover. And that's not really clear yet though in the first issue, because like it does sort of give the impression that it's like a musical gig. I think it's not till a couple issues later where you're like, is this this is weird performance art? I don't know what's happening.
It's like all about finding that deeper connection. I mean, that's ostensibly why people are drawn to religion in the first place, is that you want to feel connected to something larger than yourself. So this is just like the modern version of that, is where do you congregate? Where do you feel awe or ecstasy?
And for Laura, I think it's not enough to just be experiencing it. She wants to be the source of it.
Can I tell you something really frivolous about this cover that the more I look at it, the more it's bothering me?
Yes.
All right. So she's this is also probably the youngest that she has looked in any of the covers that I've seen so far. Is like, she's clearly, like you said, she's a teenager. She's hanging out. She's at home. She's in her bed. Tia, why is this girl wearing shoes in her bed?
In her bed. Shoes on in the bed. They are the most 2014 shoes you've ever seen in your life. They're like yellow ankle boots with buckle details. And also, like, I always get a kick out of these leggings. They're like flowered leggings. I don't think I've ever seen anyone wear leggings like that in the last 5 years. But at the time, man, did we like our tight pants.
I do enjoy a good pattern legging. Do I wear them out in public?
owl.
No, but you know.
Which is like foreshadowing for all the patterned WicDiv leggings that we got before the series ended. And I did a photo shoot with them, and then they went out of business.
No.
Story for another time. Also, peak 2014, the owl pillow.
Is that an owl? I thought that was a cat.
Oh, maybe it's an owl cat.
A cat owl.
And if you don't look at the tail, it's for sure an owl.
Oh, Tia, any final thoughts for our first episode as we introduce everyone to this series?
There's gonna be spoilers.
Tia's saying that for me as much as she is for you. I have some reading to do before we record more.
We're going to try to focus on talking about the covers as single images, but there probably will be some spoilers.
You've been warned. Dun, dun, dun.
They all die. They tell you that in the first page. So don't blame me.
The journey, Tia, the journey that we hope you will all join us for as we continue The Wicked and the Divine Uncovered. Thank you all for joining us for The Wicked and the Divine Uncovered. I'm Kara Szymborski here with Tia Vasiliou. We want to thank Brian for being our proof listener this recording session. Thanking Xander for editing, as always. And Mike for giving us the keys to the kingdom. We're not giving them back. This is our studio now. And as always, thank you for supporting us on Patreon. And comics are good, and so are you.